Fellas, Ballin' and Brawlin' is back here. UFC 312 in Sydney, Australia takes place this Saturday as obviously the famous rematch between DDP, Dricus Du Plessis, and Sean Strickland. You know, the fan favorite, Mr. Strickland. He's either everyone's favorite or a polarizing figure to many. A big rematch for the middleweight title as DDP's defended his belt a couple times now and looks to defend it again against Sean. And as far as the rest of the card, I think we're just going to go on record here. I'm going to pass it over to Hebs just to get his thoughts on this stacked card we got Saturday in Sydney.
Dude, just like we were just saying, like I'm trying to think of some all-time bad pay-per-views. Like, it's so weird the way you'll have a super stacked card and then you'll even have a fight night last weekend that, like, on paper genuinely looked better than this card. Obviously, they only have kind of seemingly a select couple destinations that they go to. Australia's got, a lot of guys that I would think would want to fight in their homeland. You got Volkanovski, who's been very, I think he likes fighting there. Jack Della Maddalena, a guy who people are saying he might be fighting Leon in March. So, like, why couldn't that fight, or why couldn't he have fought on this card?
Yeah.
We know Izzy likes fighting in Australia. Any of the city kickboxing guys. You got Robert Whitaker. Like, how are none of these guys on this card? It makes no sense. And then you want to throw you get the hometown hero Justin Tafa in, like, the headline in the third fight of the night, or the third fight on the pay-per-view.
They gave us Jimmy Crute and Jake Matthews, bro. Come on.
I had no idea Jimmy Crute was still fighting. I loved Jimmy Crute. Like, when I was getting into, or like, I wanted to pretend like I knew all these guys. Jimmy Crute was like this musclehead. When he was fighting Anthony Smith, I remember telling everyone watching at my house, I was like, dude, Jimmy Crute's next up, by the way, if I haven't made that clear to you. And then he got his leg kicked off. I was like, I've always been a Lionheart supporter myself. So, I mean, he got knocked out by Hill. I know he got knocked out again. I mean, what do we do? That guy's a pay-per-view main card fighter.
Jimmy Crute reminds me, I get glimpses of our boy Adam Winter, a fellow Wake alum, one of our good friends.
I could see, yeah, he could. I would honestly. Winter's an underrated grappler, dude. I think I favor Winter in that fight. We might be coming in even money. Winter's shred a few LBs recently, but back prime Winter, I think he takes out Crute within 2 rounds.
Shout out Mr. Winter, good big friend of the program. No longer on the Dave Cohen diet, as him and Hebs have experienced.
Yeah, this card sucks. This card's terrible. So guess what? It's going to be sick if you follow this. That's usually the way this goes.
Yeah.
Another card that popped into my head, 301, which was Steve Erceg, another Australian guy why is he not on this card? But Steve Erceg, when he fought Pantoja, that was Kai Barajo. Yeah. That he was fighting, I believe, somebody. He definitely was fighting somebody. But it ended up being a really good card. On paper, it didn't look great. But some of these times where, there's not much name value, it ends up being more exciting. So that's going to be my official prediction for Saturday. Or at least it better be. Because the fact that, like, you can just throw this out and expect me to, expect some to pay $80 and for me to find a new streaming website because meth streams does not work anymore. So now I have to find a new one. StreamEast has been washed for years. I don't know. I used to be the stream guy, and now I got absolutely nothing. But this card sucks. It's terrible. How you gotta stick one of these in, like, the middle of the year. You can't just, like, roll this out as the second pay-per-view of the year. One of those cards where you keep, like, a month ago, you're like, oh wait, when are they going to announce the rest of these? Wait, when are they going to 312? It still doesn't have, like, any fights. Are they ever going to announce it? And it just never happens. We don't even have to. We can just get right in to the co-main event. Actually, there's a guy. The guy Tafa's fighting is definitely a stud. He's like 7-0. He's got a head kick knockout.
Yeah.
As a heavyweight. I haven't seen it. I just looked at him real quick, and he's got a head kick knockout, so he's probably unreal.
It's just tough for me, a guy debuting at heavyweight against Tafa, and like the guys
Have
only
you ever
get,
seen a head like a heavyweight throw a head kick, like even on a heavy bag? It's
no, but
never
I
happened
no,
before.
but it's just like the guy. I think the guy's only like minus 145. If he was a phenom, I see him at minus 350 going into a
Yeah,
fight.
yeah, yeah.
But
No,
you know,
you're right.
but who knows? Who knows? But
I,
like you said, bro, this is the problem with the UFC. Like the only problem with the UFC in their ESPN deal is like they just sometimes it's like, hey, we got to get a certain amount of pay-per-views out. Let's just throw some like this is kind of unacceptable if you're going to be charging. I mean, whatever people pay these days, whatever we pay these
oh,
days.
you don't even know. Does that mean that you are an illegal streamer?
No, I'm
No.
actually a program, a pay-per-view. I buy the pay-per-views when it is a card other than this one on Saturday. Will not be getting my money, as I will not be staying at the house to watch this card. I will be watching, but I will not be staying at the house to watch this card. We will be out and about making things happen. But like you said, the card doesn't deserve our full time. We'll go right into the co-main. And
Jack Jenkins. I want to shout out Jack Jenkins. I really like that guy, and he's on this card. I didn't even know that. Because he's on the undercard, he should be on the main card. Justin Tafa. Which Tafa brother is going to show up? Remember when they like subbed one in the day before, and it like wasn't a story, and then it happened again like a month later? This is why we got to talk about this stuff, man. As I just rip him apart and say he sucks. So, Tafa, you're welcome on anytime, though, by the way. I know you're
yeah,
listening.
but I mean, so look, I know Hebs is a huge fan of breaking down the women's fights. He's shown his passion for it in the past. But look, we got a title fight at strawweight. Weili Zhang set to defend her belt against, in my opinion, one of her tougher matchups over the years, and Tatiana Suarez, who not a lot of people know about due to the fact that she has been hurt throughout her career. She actually dominated the Ultimate Fighter, won the show, dominated. I think finished almost everybody on the show. Kind of jumps on
When
the
was
scene
that?
before we were born. No, but I think it was like 2020 or something around there. Wins some fights and is climbing the rankings, and then she's fell victim to injury multiple times in her career. She's had a neck injury. She's had a back something. I'm pretty sure she's had a knee injury as well. So yeah, she actually beat none other than the wife of the GOAT, Amanda Nunes, and Nina Ansaroff.
Oh,
Beat
wow.
her in Chicago, and was looking like she was going to be on her way to a title shot, and then the injuries kind of hindered that. And she fought one time or two times in the last 4 or 5 years. So it's weird kind of seeing her back in the spotlight in a co-main event, in a huge title fight like this. But dude, I'm actually going to go with Tatiana Suarez to become the new champion in this fight. I think she's a little outmatched on the feet, but her height and reach are going to be able to save her enough to where she'll be able to survive on the feet and get this takedown at some point. And when she gets the takedown, I do think she's a specialist at getting the back and getting a submission. And I think she's going to find that in this fight. I'm going to go with Tatiana Suarez to get this one done and become the new women's strawweight champion via third round submission. And I think we're going to have a new champion at strawweight. I think it'd be nice, mix up, the division a little bit. But yeah, I think we're going to have a new champion here at strawweight. Hebs, what's your take on the co-main event?
Weili Zhang by decision to the main event we go. I do that every time as we get some new followers. Hopefully it catches on because it is hilarious. But I'm going to break the bit here for 1 second. These women fighters, man, I know maybe I'm coming off a little bit sexist here because I'm not the biggest fans of the woman MMA. But, dude, you look at their resumes, it's always like, you look because you never know the woman fighting for the belt. You've never heard of her, and then it's like, well, why haven't It's maybe because she's fought twice in the last 6 years. Like, how is she fighting for the belt? And she hasn't fought since August of 23.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. Or you have like a woman who's lost like 2 of her last 3 fighting for belt. Like they need to do something about women's MMA. Like it's ridiculous. Some of these ladies getting title shots. Weili Zhang is obviously very well liked. she comes to bang every time. The fight on UFC 300, where she was a pretty big favorite, that was an insane fight, dude. Remember, like, she like knocked her out at the end of the round, and then there was like a near choke out. That was nuts, and she was losing. Like, she almost lost that fight multiple times. So that was a great fight, but she comes to fucking bang. I love watching her style. She's one of the only women that I like to watch fight. That was I could have worded that a little bit better, I'm sure, but dude, she's minus like 140. She's easily going to lose. Like, anytime again, this woman hasn't fought. She hasn't fought since August of 23. Before that, it was like 6 years ago. So I don't know how that's the line, but I guarantee she loses. That's probably my most confident play of this card. That was my time. I just spoke about it for 2 minutes, so that saves me the rest of the year. I don't have to talk about women's fighting. To the main event we go. A fight that, a lot of people have wanted to see for a while, and then when Khamzat Chimaev shows up and he chokes out Robert Whittaker and he completely breaks his face in a way that, you don't see very often, even with how violent this sport is. Anytime you do something that stands out for its sheer violence, it kind of takes you back a little bit, right? Because, these guys are just literally fighting each other with their fists. And sometimes you see someone's teeth end up, in the back of their throat, which is pretty insane. So that seemed to throw a wrench into this plan. This was the fight to make. When Khamzat did that, Dana White came on and said that, his next fight will be for the belt. Some people, kind of the way he worded it, some people were thinking that maybe he was going to hop Strickland. But yeah, this is the fight, man. So they fought almost exactly a year ago. It was last January or February. I don't remember, but very, very close fight. A lot of people think Strickland won. It's funny I keep just saying, all these MMA fan stereotypes, but like, people seem to be turning on Strickland a little bit. I don't know if his act is getting a little bit old to some people. But like, I don't know. It seems like the hype around DDP is growing. I don't know if it has to do with the Izzy performance, but I also think just like, a lot of outside the cage stuff really impacts the way we watch the sport. Like, people hated this guy for a while. They said he was kind of like cringy. Obviously, he has a really weird fighting style. And again, he beat Robert Whittaker, and that, he's a very well-liked guy. So I think, a year and a half ago, we talked about him a lot differently. But now, he looks like he's this great champion. He just beat Israel Adesanya. He submitted Israel Adesanya in very impressive fashion. He seems to keep getting better, and his style is just so hard to figure out. This is a weird fight to break down because they both have very unique styles, and we've already seen it for 25 minutes. So like, I have a hard time. Like, I feel like it's going to be a very similar fight, which isn't a bad thing. It was a great fight, and it was as close as it can get. It really came down to that second round. The second and third rounds were pretty close. 1, 4, and 5 were pretty definitive one way. So what do you think about this fight, man? Like, as I said, we've obviously seen 25 minutes of these two in the octagon together. What are you thinking about this fight going into it?
Yeah, the first fight was great, like you said. Many people thought Strickland might have won that one. I actually don't. I think that it was pretty clear to me that DDP was the winner of that fight. And to me, watching I just remember the first fight. It's like, dude, I thought DDP, like I think he is for many of the middleweights, he's a little too strong physically for a lot of these guys, and you see it in the takedowns. And you saw in the Strickland fight, he was able to mix in the wrestling, and Strickland didn't really have an answer for it throughout the fight. Like, when DDP wanted a takedown, for the most part, he got a takedown. And I think we even see that with how Strickland's kind of acting, kind of asking him basically, hey, why don't we be men here? No shooting. Like, he's not going to say, like, I do think that shows a little bit of like, yo, he knows what happened in there the first time. And from that standpoint of, DDP got him to start thinking about that, and that opens other things up for DDP on the feet. But because if you just make it a striking match against Strickland, like we've seen before, he's going to teep kick and throw a jab and yell at the end of the 5th round to get the judges and the fans excited. But yeah, I think they're both going to make they'll bring the dog out of each other in this one. They're both dogs. DDP much more of a dog than Strickland. Let's just get that clear here. But I'm rolling with
the
DDP.
program, man.
I'm rolling with DDP to get this one done, and I'm going with DDP to get the finish this time and make it put a stamp on this one. I'm gonna say third round TKO. He's gonna land. He's gonna mix in the wrestling early. He's gonna land something of significance, and I see him TKO and Mr. Strickland in the third round, and then I think we get DDP versus none other than Mr. Khamzat Chimaev in a huge fight at middleweight. What about you, Hebs?
Yeah, I've been back and forth in this one. Like, I rewatched the fight in August before DDP was fighting Izzy because I remember when it happened, I was rooting for Strickland. I bet on Strickland, and then like right when the fight ended, I was like, okay, like DDP won. Like I remember thinking DDP won. I remember being confused with all the, everyone saying robbery. And I had never rewatched the fight till right before DDP's last fight. And I kind of changed my mind. It all came down to one round, the second round, which was very close, and you could kind of score it either way. But dude, here's the thing: like DDP just like out activitied Strickland. So like it's a toss up. You could say whoever you thought won. It was very close, but like in my opinion, Strickland just didn't do enough. He came out in the fifth round knowing it was a close fight. And he kind of schooled him in the fifth round. And he kind of schooled him in the first round. And then 2, 3, 4 were like all very close. And there's an argument that there's a clear argument that DDP won all three of those rounds. That's what the judges thought he did. But like he was just outworking him. He was activitying him. He was shooting. Again, I kind of disagree with you. I don't think he was, dominating the rest. Like he took him down, but Strickland was able to get back up pretty easily. Like there wasn't too much control
I'm just saying
time.
He got the takedowns.
Yeah, you're right. I think he had it. Like he might have like 6 takedowns, but it didn't seem like that because Strickland would get up. But that still count. Like if you're able to just take the guy down, like, and DDP just seems so confident right now. They always say how much better you get once you become champion, and I think he's like the perfect example of that because like. Maybe you start drinking your own Kool-Aid, right? You always have to have like this kind of delusional self-confidence, but like he goes out there and beats Robert Whittaker. Then he goes out there and he beats Sean Strickland. And then he went and beat Israel Adesanya. So
finished Whittaker and Adesanya. That's going to give you big confidence, bro.
I don't think he's probably the only guy in history that's said that he's finished both of them, right?
Yeah, they didn't get to face Khamzat, so Rob did, but Izzy didn't. So
Izzy sparks him. So prime for prime, Izzy sparks him.
Absolutely,
the fight would have happened
in one.
The fight would have happened if the fight would have happened probably 3 or 4 times by now if Khamzat didn't fight once every 2 years. So definitely, while Izzy was defending his belt time after time, fucking Khamzat was in a war with Gerard Meerschaert, so that was what was going on there. So, but yeah, that I guess that the ship has kind of sailed on that one. But maybe we'll see Meerschaert versus Izzy one of these days.
Yeah, chill out, show some respect.
But yeah, so the whole build up these last couple months, I've thought Dricus Du Plessis was going to win. My opinion has nothing to do with friend of the program, former guest, Eric Nixick. I don't want to piss him off because I know he's watching, Sean Strickland's coach. But like, dude, I think Strickland is being very much underrated in this fight. Like, he can definitely win. And I think this line is a little bit confusing to me.
The line says that he can win. He's DDP's the what? Minus 195, minus 200? Like, they're saying it's going to be – that's a close fight. That's like two –
But it seems like more people are back. Like, I'm not hearing very many people picking Strickland. So I guess the line – I thought it would just be like a little – like maybe like minus 170. I just started to think it's minus 200. And like I said, man, I came away with that fight thinking that Strickland was better and DDP just outworked them. And anytime that's how you win, I think there's a very clear – I mean, obviously, cardio is not the issue. He won the 5th round. The 5th round was like the clearest round of the fight. So, like, probably round 1 was. But I'm going to pick Sean Strickland because partially I just want chaos. I think if he wins, and we'll get into this in a second, what's next at middleweight. But again, man, it's just a toss-up. Like style, I'm going to take him at his odds at plus 170. I think that's a pretty decent bet just because, like, again, man, it's going to be close. It's going to look a lot like it did last year. I don't see either of these guys getting much better or worse. I'm seeing that's the take. And I've said this, we've had this conversation that like DDP is going to come out there and he's going to finish him. But like, and I could see that happening, but I don't know. There's just not that much that makes me think that. And the tides were.
But dude, what you're saying is what everyone says about DDP. It doesn't look pretty. It doesn't look good, but he's finishing guys. Like
I know. I love DDP, dude. I think,
and it's like when we watch DDP, it's like, is he that good? Like, but bro, I'm done doing it. I'm done doubting him. Like I'm done. He's
well. That I kind of
like. I think with DDP, and I know I talk about but I this is something I really look at in fights, dude. I think he's physically so much stronger than a lot of these middleweights. Like, bro. I think he's walking around at like, dude, he's a
230.
Dude, he's probably close to it, bro. Like,
yeah,
he's a big guy, bro.
He's huge, and he's shredded. Like, it always confuses you with some of these fighters because you know that, like, again, lifting weights is not like the biggest part of your regimen when you're a fighter. So some of these guys that look, I mean, he looks like a legit bodybuilder when he's on the scale. Like, he could like be a competing bodybuilder. He's carved from stone, and it's always a little confusing because like you don't really train for muscle mass. As someone, this is coming from someone who's carved from stone myself. So like, I understand the business, but like when these guys look like that, you're just like, how is that even like, how is it possible for your back to look like this when you're not like, lifting weights all day? But that's neither here nor there. And Sean Strickland does not look like that. So, I mean, right. He's like the everyman. He,
except bro, again, for some reason, though.
Do you want him to come on the show or not, dude? Can you just change? Can you just say you pick Strickland?
I'm just saying that I think Strickland like has looked insanely cut in his last couple of fights. Compared,
he has. He's looked a lot different. I believe that was before DDP when he really like. He kind of has a weirdly shaped body, kind of like an ice cream cone, creamsicle type of situation he's got. But I don't know, man. All the hate, like, and it is weird. How is he still doing the, like, man to man? We're gonna go dick to dick in there, and we sign no takedown clause because we're gonna throw down. Like, dude, how does he still say that is beyond me. Like, I'm not like I just don't understand how he still needs to say that. Like, he's a great fighter, but that's not his style. And I just saw Brett Okamoto. That loser, that guy sucks. He was like, but actually I'll give credit where credit's due because I'm the bigger man always. I saw an interview with Strickland the other day and he was saying like, oh, you have this reputation for like, you beat up guys in the gym. You have all these intense sparring sessions and you always say like, it's going to be a war. Someone's going to bleed.
I see that. He called him out a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And he asked it in a great way because he wasn't being confrontational.
Gave him the when it's a high level chess match.
Yeah. He's like, it's a freaking high level chess match in there, dude. It's two world champions. He's like, when I'm in there, like, when I box, what's the guy who's
what's his name from Bellator? Johnny Eblin.
Johnny Eblin. He's like, when I'm in there with Eblin, it's a chess match, dude. It's high level shit. You don't even know what the fuck's going on. He's like,
by the way, Johnny Eblin is all respect. We might be rolling into these camps, meeting these guys one day. All respect, but Johnny Eblin is a decision news fest machine. I mean, I would never pay pay-per-view money to watch Johnny Eblin fight. I'm just going to put that out there.
Okay, good. Well, you would never have I don't think you've ever bought a pay-per-view in your life, so I don't know what you're talking about.
What do you mean? I'm on the pay-per-view plan, bro. It's thousands every year, dude.
Seriously?
Yeah, bro. It's tough.
Not going to share that password with me, bro?
It's tough, bro. It's tough.
We'll talk later. But yeah, so Strickland, that the interview was hilarious, bro. And again, I'm not trying to rip on him, but he almost seemed like, I can't believe no one's asked him that question before, because that would be like the first thing I would ask him. And again, not in like a bad way. Like, he has to see. He seems like he's online a lot because he references stuff people say on the internet all the time. So like, I would assume he has some idea of what's going on. And like, bro, he's been getting torn even like ever since the Costa fight. He's been getting just like dragged for, the comments he makes and then the style he has to back it up. So he's a great fighter. He's a championship level fighter. He won a championship with this style, and he nearly beat DDP doing the same way. He walked down Costa for 5 rounds and won that fight very easily. So like, a win is a win, right? So like, it's hard to hate on these styles, but like, I don't know. I just don't understand. There's a difference between selling the fight. Some of these guys, like a Colby, comes out and he's like playing a character, right? Or even like you hear these guys who like, they're kind of talking it up a little bit, but they don't really mean it. They're putting on a little bit of a show. That's one thing, but you going in there and continuing to say like, we're going to war, one of us is going to bleed. And it's like, I'm going in there to die. And then like to just fight the way you do it. It is a little bit funny. So I am glad DDP called him out for it, but I'm more so glad that I hope that we get like a fun build-up this week and we get a good press conference because they do you remember that they buried the hatchet before they fought last time?
Yeah.
They fought in the stands of a UFC fight. That it was a big deal, and then DDP made him cry, like it was really weird. And DDP, great trash talker, right? So, but then before the fight, they're like, "Hey, we buried the hatchet, we're good." So the press conference, the real press conference, they were just sitting there not doing anything. So we will get a fun build-up. I'll go Sean Strickland decision. I can't really break it down stylistically. I just see that as what's happening, and I'll go with my gut because I've never been wrong before. Can't really speak today. I'm a little bit congested. I apologize. I'm never beating the Lisp allegations on here, I don't think. But yeah, I'll go with Strickland decision. But I think it will be a decision. I could see DDP finishing him, but I don't know, man. I think Strickland will be ready to roll. I think Coach Eric will be ready to roll, and hopefully he can come on pretty soon here. He can come on pretty soon here and break down his newly recrowned king in the middleweight division. So real quick, we spoke about this a little bit in our last video talking about the middleweights. If Sean Strickland wins, if DDP wins, we know what's next. If Sean Strickland wins, tell me your theory about what is happening in the middleweight division. So if, again, set the record for people that don't know, it would be 1-1. Sean Strickland has one. DDP has one. Usually that would mean and by usually that would always mean trilogy. What do you think happens if Sean Strickland wins on Saturday?
Yeah, I think the cash cow at middleweight, the guy who has the biggest following, one of the biggest contenders in the sports history, I think, will be fighting for the belt regardless of who wins on Saturday. I think Hamzat's next. Yeah, I think, to make no mistake about it, I think you go Hamzat versus the winner of this fight.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying. I understand. I think DDP's.
So then, will DDP have to fight again?
But again, no. I think DDP could probably wait and fight. You know what I mean? Fight the like if he lost, I think he could probably wait and then fight Hamzat if Hamzat beats Strickland, or fight the winner. Because again, also it's like, why are we doing this, like these auto trilogies and stuff like it used to be like, yeah, if it made sense, it's like, bro, DDP's defended his belt 2 times right now. It's not like I just don't understand why we always think like champion gets immediate rematch these days, where it's like, oh, don't get me wrong, if you defended your belt multiple times, like when I say multiple, I'm talking probably like 3 to 4 times in my opinion, then it's like, okay, you lose, you're getting a rematch. But like, guys are getting rematches, like, I don't know, it's just it seems a little, the rematches need to slow it down, I think, in today's MMA.
I agree with you 100, but like trilogy and rematch are 2 different things. I think it's different giving a guy an automatic rematch as opposed to like that's why, even though a lot of people thought Strickland won, like that's why I didn't think they needed to do a rematch right away. I was like, okay, Strickland can go fight someone else. Like,
yeah,
he didn't defend the belt. He just won the belt. He shouldn't have even been getting the title shot. Didn't matter because he won, but like, even if it's just because it's a close fight, I don't think you run it back just because of that. So I'm happy that Strickland went and fought again. And again, I do think that they could have just given this shot to Hamzat, but it would have really been unfair to Strickland. Like, he won the belt, he lost in a super close fight. You make him go fight Costa, so he deserves this shot. So I'm happy he's getting it, but I don't know. I think you put the UFC in a very weird position. I think Dana would because they're not going to make Hamzat fight again. Like, that's for sure. So,
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I could see that happening. I don't know what's going to happen, but I could see either way happening. I think it would be unfair to DDP to let Hamzat jump him, but it's kind of unfair to Hamzat at this point to do the trilogy. So we'll see. But other than that, we spoke a little bit about this in our last video. So what else? Middleweight, I guess we'll have potentially Imavov versus Kai Barajo.
I think that's for sure.
That's a very, very exciting fight. Kind of two contenders who are, similar in age, similar styles even, and they've kind of come up the ranks together. So it's been cool. Pretty fast rises for both of them. So now they've went from contenders, or they went from prospects to now contenders. So I think that's a sick fight. I don't think there are any other fights that are, need to be made right now at middleweight, but UFC 312, snooze fest, absolute, and then it sucks because you're just waiting till 12:30 or 1 for the main event to start. Like, what a dumpster fire, man. What a joke. And then we got a good couple ones. March card will be sick. April will be sick. So I guess we just got to put up for this with this for the time being. Final thoughts on UFC 312, on the Coach Cohen diet? Anything else on your mind?
No, man. Shout out to Coach Cohen and the Wake staff. Guys that were there for many years with Dave Clawson. It was a great run, boys. Shout out Coach Cohen. Shout out Adam Winter. Shout out the entire D line.
If Winter doesn't freaking watch this, I'm gonna be pissed, dude.
The boys kept me clean for many years. I have to show my respect.
Yeah, we'll be back next week to break it down. Hopefully, we got some nice guests coming on these next couple weeks. Definitely want to check that out. Like, comment, subscribe. As always, comment those predictions. Justin will give you a lot of gifts if you get them right. So let's see. Even if you can tell me, if you can name 3 fighters on this main card, he might even give you a freaking surprise. So there we go. Deuces.
Rolling, baby. We'll see you guys soon.